Yo friends, I want to share with you about some of the trees and plants I'm most excited to grow this year and about what I'm doing to get them ready for spring. This is a packet of blueberry seeds I got from the Experimental Farm Network. These seeds come from Elizabeth Coleman White's blueberry farm in Jersey. She was an important person in the breeding of high bush blueberry cultivars. She went around collecting the best wild cultivars and backyard cultivars she could find, planted them on her property, and then used those to breed some of the named cultivars we still use today. She's not around anymore, but her property still is, and these are seeds from that property. Unlike most of the tomato seeds you would buy from stores, these seeds won't grow true to type. So I have no idea what I'm gonna get when I plant these seeds in the ground. I know it'll be a blueberry, but I don't know how big, how productive, how tasty the berries will be. Because these seeds came from a source with really outstanding blueberry bushes, I expect that many of them will be really outstanding in their own right. And of those new varieties from this seed packet, I might even get some that are worth naming and spreading around. These need to go through a period of cold stratification. They need to experience winter before they start to sprout. It's the seed's safety net. They don't want to sprout in the middle of winter, so they wait for a period of cold, and when that cold ends, they start to sprout. I've run out of room in my fridge for storing these seeds, so I planted them in this seed container here with potting soil, and I've left it outside. I'll make sure everything here stays moist, and I'll just let it go through the normal winter ups and downs of temperature. And I expect that as things start to warm up in the spring, I'll have plenty of blueberry seedlings. Also purchased from the Experimental Farm Network is a collection of Perennial Kale. Now this too is a diverse array of kale seedlings, so I really don't know what I'm going to get. Each plant is going to be different, but those plants should be fairly easy to propagate from cuttings once they're growing, so I expect to find some plants that I really like and be able to spread those specific genetics around once I get them. I tried growing these last year, and just like the rest of my veggie garden, I just wasn't set up and prepared to protect from deer, to protect from cabbage moths. So this year I'm setting up an actual fence for the deer, and I'm gonna have like a small mini high tunnel with shade cloth to protect from the cabbage moths. I expect this to go a lot better. We'll see how it goes. We eat a ton of kale in our smoothies every morning, so I'm really hoping to have great success with these this year. I have some seeds I got from the American Chestnut Foundation. These seeds will grow into trees that are about 3/4 American genetics. If you're not familiar with the American chestnut, it was this absolutely glorious tree, really important for ecosystems because it dropped a ton of nuts every year, but it was practically wiped from existence because of the chestnut blight that was introduced less than 100 years ago. The American Chestnut Foundation has been working tirelessly since the 80s to preserve the genetics of these trees and breed in genetics for these trees that are resistant to the chestnut blight. So these seeds that I'll be growing out will probably look and perform and act in the landscape like American chestnuts, but will have over 50% complete resistance to the strongest forms of chestnut blight. I'm not going to be selling these trees this year. I expect in the fall to be able to dig them out of their air-prune beds, and I want to be able to share these with people who are local to Lancaster, who are willing to actively take care of and protect a handful of trees on their own property, and then willing to let me come in a handful of years and collect seeds from the strongest, the healthiest, the most productive, the tastiest of those trees, so I can continue to spread these genetics around the area and continue to choose and select for trees that are really productive and really resistant to the chestnut blight. These are some yellow Mirabelle Plum seeds that I got through Oikos Seed Nursery through the Experimental Farm Network. I'm really excited about these. It's just exciting for me to have a tasty variety of plum. Again, the seeds, they're not quite sure exactly what I'm gonna get, but I'll get a whole bunch of brand new varieties. Some of them may be worth naming. And I'm excited to have some plums on the property. They should be really, really tasty. These also need to go through a period of cold stratification, so I put a little potting soil in here. I made sure it was moist, and I just chucked it right in my fridge. They can just stay in the fridge until I'm ready to plant them outside. I'll put them in raised beds. I might even I have some like large plastic pots or plastic totes. As long as there's holes drilled in the bottom for drainage from moisture and water, I might just plant them right in those with some potting soil. Here I have a couple different seeds from named varieties of hazelnuts from Burnt Ridge Nursery. I have a handful of hazelnut trees on my property. I'm really pumped to add a whole bunch more. These are trees that'll really work great as a hedge if planted close together. So I have this row of Paw Paw trees, which will provide some nice tall cover and protection. And then I have this row of hazelnuts, which I want to extend all the way back here. And I'll use some of those name variety seedlings. Hazelnuts are a native nut tree that doesn't really get talked about enough in my opinion. I think they taste amazing. They're pretty easy to harvest and they're really thin shelled, so you don't need to worry about having a fancy nutcracker. And yet we only really seem to eat them in Nutella. They're really popular in Europe, where there are some native Europe varieties. But I'm really excited to be growing these out and hopefully selling and spreading these around for more people to grow hazelnuts in their backyards. I also have a couple hundred Paw Paw seeds from both name variety trees and wild trees. Both the wild and name variety seeds I've collected from trees local to Lancaster County. The wild trees grow just in abundance along the Susquehanna River, and it's so much fun for me and my family to go foraging for Paw Paws every fall. The name variety seeds are from a mixture of different name variety trees from an orchard here in Lancaster County, and I'm really excited for these because they have great potential in their genetics, but like a lot of the trees I've talked about so far, I don't know what I'm going to get with these trees. So these are trees that I will be selling and spreading around to people, and I'm excited to talk with them over the next few years as their trees start to produce and find out how special their trees are, if they're extra productive or if they make fruit that has a very few seeds that are easy to pop out. I'm really excited in that particular. I would love to find more and more trees that are both tasty and have few seeds that are really easy to extract from the pulp. I have a bunch of other things here in my box of seeds, but the ones I've talked about so far are definitely the ones I'm most interested and most excited about. For the ones that I'm selling, I'll probably put them up on my website in the fall. Once the trees start to lose their leaves, they'll be really easy to dig out of their beds and transplant as bare root. You can shake the soil right off the roots, and as long as you keep them like wrapped in a moist paper towel, keep the roots moist, I can ship them all over the country. I ship really everything east of the Mississippi to prevent the spread of diseases and pathogens. But if you're on the East Coast and you want some of these trees or some of the other things I have on my website, check it out. I'm excited for you guys to be planting and growing. Let me know in the comments what you're excited to grow this year.